Our world is full of incredible landscapes to explore, and one of our favourite ways to do this is to hop in a car and drive along the equally stunning roads that lead through them. There's just something about a good road trip that fuels our sense of adventure and wanderlust, driving off into the unknown, never knowing what we'll discover around the next corner. There are many breathtaking stretches of tarmac that could make a claim for being the world's greatest road, from the beach-hugging Pacific Coast Highway in the USA to the North Coast 500 winding its way through the Scottish Highlands, or even the short but incredibly beautiful Atlantic Road in Norway. But in our next two videos, we're going to be taking you with us on an almost 1,250-kilometer journey down through the wild and sparsely populated region of Chilean Patagonia. This road is called the CARRETERA AUSTRAL, and it's a strong contender for the most beautiful road trip in the world.
If you're new here, we're Kitty and John, and we love to travel and experience new cultures. Whether we're circumnavigating the Scottish Highlands in our car or trekking 80 kilometers to the ancient city of Machu Picchu using the power of our own 2 feet, our passion for travel never seems to fade. We're currently exploring the epic continent of South America and have really fallen in love with the landscapes and the people. So make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you'd like to see more content from this amazing part of the world. The Carretera Austral, meaning Southern Way in English, is the name given to Chile's Route 7, which runs for 1,247 kilometers through the sparsely populated regions in the south of the country. Beginning in the port city of Puerto, Montt, it quickly leaves civilization behind, and it passes through thick forests, ancient fjords, and around steep mountains, all the way down to the small town of O'Higgins, deep in the heart of Chilean Patagonia. There are many ways to travel down the Carretera Austral depending on your budget. We saw many backpackers hitchhiking the entire way, as well as many cyclists attempting to pedal down its length. There are also some buses traveling between the main towns, although some of these services can be a little bit infrequent. So if it's within your budget, we highly recommend hiring a car for 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how long you have, and that will give you a lot of flexibility to stop along the route wherever you want to. We personally hired a car for 3 weeks, which was just about enough time for us to get down and then drive back up again, seeing everything that we want to along the way. It took us about 4 days just to drive back the entire length, so if you're planning on going into Argentina towards the end of the route, then probably 2.5 weeks will be sufficient enough time to see everything that you want to. Just be aware that if you want to drop your car off in a completely different location, it's always going to be more expensive, not to mention dropping it off in a completely different country.
Before we get started on our trip down the Carretera Austral, I just wanted to tell you about some of our favourite travel gear when we're doing trips like this. To make these videos, we need to travel with a lot of tech, from cameras to laptops and all sorts of accessories. These things can not only be awkward to pack, but are also pretty heavy when combined, so the backpacks we choose to carry them in have to be both versatile and comfortable. We've been using Tomtok's range of travel bags and accessories for this reason, and not only love how flexible they are in terms of packing, but also how easy it is to access different compartments on the fly. Their Navigator T66 40-litre backpack has plenty of room for our cameras and large laptops, and opens from the front to allow easy access to the main compartment. With its padded back panel and contoured shoulder straps, it remains comfortable to carry even on long travel days. We also love their T37 crossbody bag, which easily holds all those travel essentials we need quick access to when on the go. The RFID blocked pocket, which protects our IDs and credit cards from electronic theft, helps us feel more relaxed when out exploring crowded cities, and the adjustable strap means it can fit snugly across our shoulders for extended periods. Finally, their T12 accessory pouch helps us to keep all of those annoying and messy wires and cables tucked away in one convenient location, meaning less of this and more of this. You can check out all of our favorite bags by clicking on the links in the description and heading on over to Tomtok's website. Thanks for listening, and let's get this road trip started. Welcome to a very wet and windy Puerto Montt, and the official starting point of the Carretera Austral.
This is exactly where the road names changes.
From here it's 1,240 kilometers all the way down to the very end of the road in Chile at O'Higgins, and over the next sort of 2 weeks we're going to be making our way all the way down.
It's going to be exciting. Hopefully the weather will improve a little bit.
Hopefully, because it is very wet and miserable today. Thankfully, this first day we're not really doing much. It's just about leaving Puerto Montt, getting all the essentials like cash and food and everything. And then we're going to be heading down to a place called Hornopiren this afternoon, where we're going to be kind of officially starting with the big ferry crossing tomorrow morning.
Exciting. A couple of weeks of driving.
Be long, but very, very fun. Mile 1, let's go.
Let's get driving. Hopefully the weather is clearing now,
Yeah.
so we'll be good.
We set out from Puerto Montt and quickly left the bustling city behind. The road wound between forested hills and past seaside settlements as we followed the coastline down to La Arena and the first ferry crossing of the trip. First ferry crossing!
Yeah.
So this is the first of 3 ferry crossings along the Carretera Austral. This is probably the shortest one. It's only about 15 to 30 minutes. The ferries run every like 30 minutes, so they're very regular during the high season. It's really beautiful here. After around 30 minutes, we disembarked the ferry at Puerto and drove the remaining 55 kilometers down to Hornopiren. So it's the morning of the second day now. We spent the night in Hornopiren, which is the town just before you get on the really long double ferry all the way down to Caleta Gonzalez. We did this just because of the ferry we wanted to take was in the morning. It was just easier for us to do a short day yesterday, kind of get to grips with everything, the car and all of that, just have a chill sort of afternoon and then really get going with the full journey today. Again, today's probably just going to be more of a travel day. We're not really going to be doing many activities, but we're going to be taking this very long ferry all the way down to Caleta Gonzalez and then from there driving down to Chaiten. Last night we stayed in this kind of like cabin. A lot of the accommodations down this route are going to be sort of cabin-esque buildings. That's sort of the main accommodation style down here. It's very cool, very cozy. They have heaters for if it gets too cold, electronic, and then they have like a wood burner stove here as well if you want to use that in the evenings. Kitchens, pretty well equipped, and a nice little kind of like living area, so it's very cozy. In terms of food, obviously you can eat out and buy food in the different towns that you're staying in. It's probably cheaper to buy your food in Puerto Montt. Like we went to a massive superstore there with really a lot of discounts, way more affordable than we were expecting. We just bought kind of like 3 bags or 4 bags worth of food, which will last us for probably about 8 or 9 days, and then we'll arrive in another bigger town about halfway down where we can kind of restock. Definitely suggest doing that because we paid like under $100 for all of our food and like essentials and stuff. We have to be at the ferry port now this morning about 2 hours in advance of the boarding. Not sure how that's going to work. We might end up just sat in the car for about an hour and a half.
Ferry just behind me pulling in. This is the one that we're going to spend about 3.5 hours on. This is the first one. We're going to get off the ferry, drive about 30 minutes or so, then get on another one which will be much shorter. It's actually quite a misty morning and we were a bit disappointed this morning when we left, saying like, oh, we're not going to see anything, but it's actually so cool. Like I just cannot stop taking pictures and we've only been here for like about 20 minutes. It's so beautiful. It's got this like nice, moody, mysterious atmosphere here. I love it. It's so beautiful.
After spending an hour or so admiring the scenery from the port, we boarded the second and by far the largest ferry we would take on this trip. There was a large indoor seating area with hot food and drinks being served, and plenty of outside deck space to enjoy the views from. Once all the cars had been loaded up, the ramp was raised and we set sail. The scenery as we sailed down this long fjord was stunning from start to finish. We were surrounded by forested hills on both sides, with swirling clouds clinging to the slopes and settling in the valleys, adding to the moody atmosphere of the place. The water was so calm as we passed isolated fishing villages and towering waterfalls, and it was nice to enjoy the landscapes around us without having to worry about keeping our eyes on the road.
Eventually, we disembarked at the end of the fjord and made the short drive across a small stretch of land to the next ferry. Both these ferries are included as part of the same ticket, so we didn't need to worry about showing our tickets again when boarding. Due to the smaller size of this ferry, it has to do 2 trips in the high season to get everyone from the first ferry across. We were lucky and managed to get on the first one, but you may have to wait for it to come back before continuing. This ferry hops across another fjord in about 30 minutes and dropped us at Caleta Gonzalo, where we passed the visitor center and official entrance to Pumalin National Park, which we'll be exploring over the next few days. We're off the ferries and now we have an hour drive to our destination in Chaiten.
And we are straight onto the first gravel/dirt section of the Carretera.
Not so bad, but there's definitely quite a few potholes.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the best.
Where you can see, it's not the best.
Very nice up until now, and I think we will get back to paved sections again, but right now we're definitely traversing the potholes, taking it slow.
The road gradually got better the closer we got to Chaiten, with the worst section coming right at the start after we got off the ferry. This was probably the worst section of the road we drove on during the entire trip, so it was nice to get it out of the way early.
Hey, we have tarmac again.
Yeah, we're about 25 minutes from Chaiten and we have tarmac. Perfect.
That section, you had to take it pretty slow, especially with like, if you have a smaller SUV like we have, there's definitely a lot of potholes and a lot of weaving in and out. Thankfully, we've got a little bit of tarmac now, and apparently it should be tarmac for quite a considerable distance now. Looking forward to driving on the smooth road again for a while.
Soon after we arrived in the large town of Chaiten, which is the main jumping off point for exploring Pumalin National Park. Most of the buildings in the town are constructed from wood, which really adds to the character of the place, and it is bordered on one side by steep forested mountains and volcanoes, and on the other by the Pacific Ocean.
So we've just arrived to Chaiten and our accommodation. Yesterday's cabin was pretty rustic. This cabin is very rustic. To get to it even, you have to walk like through the jungle, so it's like hidden between all of these trees. And then this is our cabin. It's called Luma. Super cute. It's a nice like living area again, little stove. Got a little cooking area. She'll be cooking in later. Simple bathroom and the master bedroom. So Chaiten is our first sort of major stop along the Carretera Austral. The reason for it is just behind me. This entire area is Pumalin National Park. It is a huge area, loads of trails. I think about 12 trails total that you can do throughout the park. It has a very tropical feeling to it. Sort of feels a little bit like Costa Rica or Central America, but a little bit grander with the mountains, covered in this tropical rainforest without the humidity, which is really, really nice. It's sort of like very temperate. We're not going to be able to do all of the trails whilst we're here in the park, but we're going to attempt to do maybe 3 or 4 different ones. This morning we're driving back along the Carretera Austral towards where we got off the ferry yesterday to do a couple of the trails along this section of the road, and then tomorrow we'll drive the other way and do a few of the trails along that section of the road. It'll just be a great couple of days of hiking and a nice break from the last 2 days where we were just driving the entire 2 days. The first trail we arrived at was the Sendero Los Ayers, a short looping trail through ancient woodland. The Ayers tree is one of the oldest and largest tree species in the world, with some specimens estimated to be over 3,600 years old. Native to the Andes Mountains and coastal regions of Chile and Argentina, they can grow upwards of 60 meters in height and towered above us as we walked along the wooden pathways. The The second trail we did was the Sendero Cascadas Escondidas, which is a longer out and back trail that winds up through the forest to 2 hidden waterfalls. We parked at the nearby car park and then followed the path across wooden bridges, up wooden staircases, and along sections overrun with tree roots. It was a fun path, but definitely only one we would recommend if you're reasonably fit and confident walking up and down steep, slippery staircases.
This is steep. Don't know if you can tell in the camera, but it is very steep.
We diverted off the main path to get down to the first waterfall, Cascada Baja, which was a beautiful waterfall tucked into a deep ravine. Then we continued further up the main path, following the river on our right, until we reached the Cascada Alta at the end of the path. This Veil waterfall reminded us a lot of the waterfall we'd seen in Chiapas in Mexico a few years earlier. The trail took us a bit longer than we expected due to the difficult terrain, and the weather was taking a turn for the worse, so we decided to call it a day and drive out of the park. On the way back to Chaiten, we stopped at the beautiful black sand beach in Santa Barbara, which is supposed to be a good place to spot dolphins in the evenings.
I think if somebody were to give me a map right now and ask me to point exactly where we were in the world, it would be hard not to pick Costa Rica or somewhere similar in Central America. The hikes that we've done here and then the beach behind me really takes me back to Costa Rica, the cloud forests, Manuel Antonio National Park.
A little bit like San Lucio as well, no? Like
the black sand.
Yeah,
Last time we were on a black sand beach.
Yeah.
San Lucio. A really, really beautiful part of the world, and not something I really expected to see in Chile, actually.
The next day, the rainy weather continued as we set off on perhaps the most popular hike in the national park, the Sendero El Volcán.
We were umming and ahhing a lot about this one in the car. The weather today is less than ideal, and this is the sort of like the steepest and the highest hike we're doing here in the park. You kind of want it to be clear when you get to the top because you get beautiful views out over the volcano, and right now the cloud is really set in. Really not sure what we're going to see when we get up there, whether this entire hike is going to be worth it or not. The alternative is just sitting back in the cabin all day, so we're here, we might as well make the most of it. As you can see, the clouds have not lifted. A beautiful view of white nothingness. Sure, there's a beautiful valley down here somewhere. Made it to number 7. A little bit disproportionate, these. Some of these were very far apart. Some of these were very close together, but not always how they appear on the map. I think we're pretty close to the top. I'm pretty sure when we get up here, the clouds will magically clear and we'll be able to see the volcano. What a view. In the Sendero.
view, no? You can see for miles. This isn't gonna clear anytime soon, if at all today, unfortunately.
Somewhere out there in that direction is a beautiful volcano view with a lake down below. I'll put a picture of it if I can find a copyright-free picture that shows what we're actually looking at right now.
It could be anywhere right now.
Could be anywhere.
It's not like we're staying here for a week and we can come back at any time. It was a now or never kind of scenario. Glad we did the hike because at least I can tell you guys that it's relatively easy, steep, but pretty easy to get up here. But maybe don't do it if it looks like this, because there's not gonna be any point in suffering.
We finally woke up this morning on our last day in Chaiten, actually the day that we're traveling from Chaiten to I'm going to butcher this name, but Futaleufu. And on the way we're passing the south entrance to Parque Pumalin, where there's a bunch of other hikes you can do. We're going to be doing the Mirador hike, where you get this nice view out over the glacier. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. Kind of sad that we didn't get this yesterday for the volcano hike. Hopefully this hike kind of makes up for it a little bit.
We hiked up a 4x4 track for a while before arriving at the trailhead of the Sendero Mirador. From here, the path slowly wound wound up through thick woodland before evening out on a small ridgeline where we got gorgeous views back out towards the valley we would be driving down later. And then a little further on we arrived at the glacier viewpoint.
A little bit bright. I literally did the other hike yesterday, so it's not like weeks between these two hikes, and the weather conditions couldn't be any different, but beautiful regardless.
Feels very different here too. This feels very alpine, much more like you'd expect to find in the Rockies or France or the Alps, you know. We're in the same park as yesterday when we did the tropical forest hikes.
It's still beautiful. It looks very blue from here.
We took some time to sit and enjoy the views of the glacier and then began the steep descent back down through the trees and along the road. Eventually, we made it back to the car and set off out of the park back to the main road. After a quick stop at the quirky cafe near the park entrance, which actually has a part of an airplane fuselage sitting in front of the garden, we began the long drive down and across to Futaleufu. This section of the drive was absolutely breathtaking, and we stopped often just to try to absorb the stunning natural beauty all around us. After long hours of driving along both smooth tarmac and gravel track, we finally made it to the town of Futaleufu, just a short drive from the Argentine border. The town itself is small, but has become a bit of a local tourist hub due to it having some of the best white water in the world for rafting and kayaking on. There are many companies offering excursions on the nearby rivers, but if, like us, whitewater rafting isn't really your thing, there are also plenty of great hikes to do in the area as well. After arriving in Futaleufu, we wandered around its quiet streets, admiring the beautiful wooden buildings, and made our way down to Laguna Espejo on the edge of the town to soak up the sunshine and walk along the shore. Then we treated ourselves to a well-needed beer and hearty meal to end the day.
The next morning, we woke up to low clouds, which remained set in for most of the day. Accompanied by the rain, this meant that we just decided to take an extra rest day after all of the long hikes we'd done in Pumalin National Park. We got a beautiful sunset in the evening, and the following day we woke up to much clearer weather. Since we now only had one day to explore the area around Futaleufu, we decided to head to the nearby National Reserve to do some hiking.
So there's 3 main trails you can do here in the Futaleufu Reserve. One of them is just a very easy one that kind of goes along the river, really kind of scenic, beautiful valley, and at the end of it you sort of get almost to the very border with Argentina, so you can almost see Argentina from the viewpoint at the end. The other 2, it's kind of the same trail, but they go up the cliff face up here somewhere. One of them goes about halfway up and you get to a viewpoint, and then the other one goes all the way to the top, the Mirador Condor, where you get beautiful views both ways along the valley. We're not sure yet whether we're going to get all the way to the top. We'll probably try and do the one that goes halfway up, and also obviously get to the end so we can look out over to Argentina. Putaleufu and Chile is all in that direction, and then I think this is still all Chile, and probably for a little bit further this way is still Chile. Somewhere at the end of this valley is where the border with Argentina is, and really not far from here at all. Very, very beautiful viewpoint. Easy walk along the river, little bit of elevation at the end, but beautiful views.
In the end, we decided not to hike up to the higher viewpoints because we figured the view would be pretty similar to that we'd already got, just from a little bit higher up, and we were still pretty tired from all the hikes in Pumalin National Park. So we headed instead to the Cañadón del Diablo viewpoint, where a very short trail took us up to a lookout of the canyon below. Our 8th day on the Carretera Austral was fairly uneventful as we drove from Futaleufu back to Ruta 7 and then on down to our next accommodation in Puyuhuapi. There were nice views along the way and more fun bridges to cross, but we didn't have any planned stops, so arrived into the small town of Puyuhuapi in mid-afternoon. At this point we're about halfway through our 2-week drive down the Carretera Austral and we'd already seen some incredible sights, even if we hadn't had the best luck with the weather. But for us, the most exciting and challenging destinations still lay ahead, deep into Chile's remote southern regions. So make sure to join us next time as we leave the tarmac behind to discover a world of majestic hanging glaciers, stunning marble caverns, sleepy villages at the end of the world, and more breathtaking scenery than you can shake a stick at. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that like button as it really helps out our channel, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content from this amazing part of the world. We also have a travel blog where we go into way more detail about all of the locations featured in our videos, so if you'd like any more information on some of the places that you've seen, make sure to head on over using the link in the description. Otherwise, we'll catch up with you next time as we continue our epic journey down to Villa O'Higgins.